I'm recording this.
Okay. Okay, here we go. In conformance with the Open Public Meeting Law, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of the special meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, mailed or requested and paid for same, and mailed to Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Bennett.
Here.
Councilman Bay.
Here.
Councilman DeLine.
Here.
Councilwoman Kemp.
Here.
Councilwoman Caldori.
Here.
Councilwoman Riker. Here. With us this evening is our Borough Attorney, Amy Gutenberg, and our Borough Administrator, Kevin Morrow.
Okay, thank you. Motion to open the meeting for public comments.
So moved.
Councilman Begg, Councilman DeLine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? This is going to be an open session, so this is your chance to talk now. So let me do a little introduction. You guys can introduce yourselves as you come up, but what we're here to do tonight is have some of the people that have been working on this project for a very long time, 3 to 5 years we've been working on this, explain to you what they're doing, what we're expecting out of the project, and where we're going in the future with it. You know, eventually this project is coming to us for the final adoption. The redevelopment agency will be making a recommendation, but we make the final determination on how these things are going to go. Tonight you will not really hear much about the pilot part of it, which is the money that we're going to receive from this. I can tell you that we're still working that out, but the guarantee is from the developer that that should be at least $300,000 a year for 30 years. Right now, can you guys help me out? What's the taxes you're collecting now on this roughly?
The borough portion?
Yeah.
Is less than $100,000.
Yeah, so it's probably like 60,000. I think it's like 60,000 that we're collecting right now. So we're looking at a surplus of 240,000 a year on this project. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andy, who's on the phone, who's our chairman of the redevelopment agency. Andy, jump in there, add anything you'd like.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I wish I was there. Congratulations, Maria and Eck, on your victory in the election. Proud of you. So what I'd like just to do is to set the table for this project and let you know where we've been. You know, I think we have, I think Michael Fabrizio and I were before you once before, years ago. But as the mayor said, and I tried to go back as far as I can, but I think we've been working on this, you know, somewhere in the area of about 4.5 years. And, you know, there's a couple of folks, you know, that really spent a tremendous amount of time. Michael Fabrizio, myself, and the mayor have spent hundreds of hours on this. Councilman Riker has been involved in a tremendous number of meetings, as well as some members of the RTA, as we discussed this with the developer. As you may remember, and things you've probably seen over the last 4.5 years, this project has moved around. It's been in different locations. It's been in different. It's looked different. It's had more units. All types of different things have gone on in trying to resolve both the project and also resolve some of the really interesting problems with the property, like the seweries and parking. So what you're going to see the applicant at least share with you today is, you know, where the project is now. The redevelopment agency is very close to ratifying the redevelopment plan, which will include this project and how it will be built. That plan, after we do that, and what you actually, I guess, approved last night was the one piece of property that needed to be designated in need of redevelopment, and we couldn't finish the redevelopment plan without that. After that, we'll be talking to the applicant about finalizing the redeveloper's agreement. That will also have the financial component in it that the mayor just referred to, and that financial component is what comes to you guys to approve. So the project as it stands now are 2 buildings connected by a bridge. One of the things that took a long time to resolve was parking, but I believe I have the numbers right. It was a section of 30 spaces that the applicant will be leasing in the pond hole. All of the parking is on their property. Both buildings will have 2 decks of internal parking connected by the bridge. There'll be 212 units, and the buildings will be 6 stories tall in the back, but will only be 5 on the main street. There will be a restaurant component, there'll be a gym, there'll be a coffee shop, there'll be a something synonymous to a WeWorks. And I think the applicant's going to talk about the restaurant, because we learned a couple of interesting things about the folks that are going to be running the restaurant that we didn't know. I think that you'll find the project to be really an asset to town. I think it's I think what we're going to see next, and I've already had some calls about this, and I spoke to the mayor about it, is there are some folks interested in developing non-residential properties in the downtown area, and not make them residential, but make them commercial, which is certainly one of the things redevelopment is supposed to do. The pilot, as it was mentioned to you, will have a significant positive economic impact on the borough. So, all in all, it's been 4.5 years of tremendous amount of work. At times, we kind of thought we were going to throw in the towel. At times, there were incredibly heated debates and arguments amongst everyone. But in the end, everyone came together, and the applicant, I think, has put together a really, really significant project, and I think a project that will really improve the downtown. As with everything we've done with redevelopment, and that's been since the beginning, and for those of you that have been around since the beginning, we've been working on redevelopment for about 10 years. One of the things that this does, which every project we've looked at and we will continue to look at will do, is not affect existing residential areas. And that's been a real keystone as to what we've been trying to do. So with that, Mayor, I think that's all I need to say right now.
Okay, thank you.
If I chime in based on what other folks said, I'm here.
All right, thank you. Now I'm going to start with, I'm just going to let Mike Fabrizio, if you have anything you want to add.
No,
Just introduce to yourself who you are to everybody on the board.
I'm Michael Fabrizio, the executive director of the Thompson Lane Redevelopment.
So Mike has been instrumental with the bid in bringing in redevelopment to our town. We need him to take part in the discussions, which unfortunately are numerous. I mean, I don't know how you do this without not having another job, because it's a lot of phone calls and a lot of time spent. So with that, I'm going to let Steve, are you going to start?
Yeah.
I want you to introduce yourself and tell us.
Well, as usual, Chairman Silverstein has taken a lot of the oomph out of my presentation. But I thank you, Mayor. My name is Steve Malenik. I'm an attorney with Greenbaum, Rowe, Smith & Davis, and I do represent the applicant here, Meridia Pompton Lakes, which is a subsidiary of Capadagli. With me here is Craig Rhino, who is a representative from Meridia, who will also be speaking today. This is a very exciting project. And as you've heard, this is many, many years in the making. And it wouldn't be without the thanks to Mr. Fabrizio, certainly Mayor Serra, Chairman Silverstein, Councilwoman Riker, and the entire PLRA for their patience and diligence while we worked through many of the iterations over the many years that we've been talking about this to bring a project that works not only for us, but really for the borough of Pompton Lakes, and it's an exciting revitalization of that area. What you're looking at that was handed out is a rendering of what has been approved by the redevelopment agency in concept for a project that's going to be located in downtown on the corner of Wanacue and Babcock. The exterior is familiar if you've ever been past one of Meridia's properties, but a lot of effort and time went into what the rendering is going to look like, because this is really going to be a gateway project for many entering your downtown.
Steve, I'm just going to jump in
Sure.
for people, and I'll jump in every once in a
You're
while.
allowed.
For people that want to know where this is Susan's property and the auto body shop, the auto dealership there on the corner there, Babcock, beside streets on both sides there. That's where we're talking.
Right. So.
And the dentist property.
And the dentist, correct.
Right. So just a couple of things to highlight. As I said, Chairman Silverstein went over a lot. You're looking at renderings of what was approved by the PLRA. No redevelopment agreement as of yet has been approved for the reason that Mr. Silverstein gave it, that last night the planning board did need to, was it last night?
Yes.
Yeah, add one more property to the redevelopment area, that being the pond hole lot. And not at this meeting, but at a subsequent council meeting, we will be asking for a sliver, a portion of that to be transferred and conveyed to Meridia to accommodate this project as it's necessary to build as what's shown. In addition to that, council is going to have a couple of other things before them. You're going to have a redevelopment plan that you're going to need to approve, which renders this project buildable and as of right. You're also going to have the financial agreement, which the mayor mentioned, is going to be very economically beneficial for the council. Those would be the three things that you'd be asked to vote on. But this is the project.
Steve,
Yes?
Can I just interrupt for 1 second? I think it's important to note that in the sliver of land that needs to be given to Meridia for this project, in exchange for that, Meridia is going to rehabilitate the Civic Center.
I heard 3 floors, but that's just what I heard.
Well, you can get this voted.
You can't see I'm smiling under this, so you can't see that.
So in terms of amenities and retail space, I want to draw particular attention to the restaurant. The redevelopment agency did hear testimony from the individual who's going to be partnering with Meridia on the restaurant space. And we're very excited that he actually is a resident of Pompton Lakes, has been a resident of Pompton Lakes for many years. His wife is on the PTA, maybe president of the PTA, and has tremendous experience in the restaurant group with, if you're familiar with the Harvest Restaurant Group, who do Root Steakhouse, Huntley Tavern, those sorts of restaurants. And we're going to be bringing a very exciting concept here, with the idea being, let's bring the nights back to downtown Pompton Lakes and let's get a restaurant scene which has the nights. Part of building projects in downtowns like this is to get those individuals who live there to be able to walk, frequent the local restaurants, frequent the local shops, and be out and about. And that brings life and vibrancy to the community.
And I should add, he was very excited when he heard this project was coming in. It's not like we had him on the line to work with.
Right.
He kind of reached out to the group and said, look, I'd really like to build a restaurant there. I'm from the town, I support the town, I understand the downtown, so I want to put this in there. Please give me the opportunity to do that. So I think that was a good partnership with the developer and the
I think the partnership will continue to grow because his daughter's in the high school and as part of,
Yeah, his daughter is in the culinary, local culinary school, and one of the ideas that's being bandied about is to partner with that culinary school to provide some sort of a contest that if they develop a dessert once a month and put it on the menu, and if for every $1 for every time the dessert is ordered, it goes right back into the school. So we're really trying to think of ways to incorporate the community, things like that. That's a good point, Craig.
Is there a liquor license for that building?
Right now, there's not, but we're ready to adapt to one if one becomes available.
So what are the plans in the interim then?
It would be a BYOB.
There is pending legislation.
There is pending legislation which could affect.
There might be legislative change drastically to allow for us to do something.
We're keeping an eye on
To increase
that.
the amount in each municipality?
Yeah, it's some kind of convoluted.
It's a sharing concept.
It's not a. It's
But
a
they are
straight thing.
outfitting the restaurant with a fully functional bar in the expectation that they will have a liquor license?
It's going to be designed in a way to be able to adapt if there becomes a liquor license available. So, not to belabor any further, you have the plans in front of you. You'll see 212 planned units. That includes full compliance with the borough's affordable housing plan for units and contributions. You see some renderings of what the interior units are going to be like. We do have some blow-ups here that we could also share, although it's probably just as easy to look right in front of you. And with that, I think I will turn it over to Craig to add anything that I forgot.
well, no, I don't think you missed much. I do want to repeat what everyone else has said, that although this has been a long journey, I think what we came up with was an outstanding product, and an outstanding product that will really help Pompton Lakes. But I want to tell you that working with your representatives, I think that they're probably some of the most understanding, educated people in redevelopment. And I think what we were able to do is come up with something, like, to repeat myself, which is really going to help the downtown, really going to add some good people to the downtown. we're recently, in COVID, we recently opened a project in a building of 165 units in Roselle Park. Not a city, kind of a neighborhood type thing, nice little downtown. We opened it the second week of COVID, and we're fully 100% rented. People love the building. We understand. Right now, we own and operate about 2,000 units. We use those 2,000 units to help us understand what the marketplace wants. I think right now this is what the marketplace wants. This is going to give them what they need. We talked about the restaurants. We opened our first restaurant in Hackensack. Unfortunately, the week we opened it, they decided to tear up the road in front of us. But you know, it's been even then it's been a great success. The mayor and deputy mayor have been down to have dinner. We think that what it will do down here will be great. I think he's also going to try to work with something for lunchtime for the schools. I think it'll all be part of the whole community. But again, I think the units are well designed. They're going to be mostly the millennials. They're going to be your 25 to 35-year-old people. They're going to be singles or some married. There'll be children. There'll be more dogs in this building than there will be children. There'll be also empty nesters. People who want to sell their homes, and maybe not move down to the Jersey Shore, but stay in Pompton Lakes, and then have another house down in warmer weather, North Carolina and South. That each building, in addition to the fitness center, the WeWorks and whatnot, the residential area will have courtyards in the middle of both areas. This courtyard, what we find out is that our millennials in our courtyards, they use the courtyards for passive exercise and whatnot, but most of these people are going to get out, they're going to walk your town, which is a great walking town. They're going to go down, they're going to run down to the park, which is about a mile away at the middle school, correct? And they're going to exercise down there, they're going to come back, and they're going to use the restaurant, they're going to use the WeWork. WeWorks is a concept that we adopted maybe 2 years ago. It's a open area where people can go and use their laptops to work. We came up with this concept before COVID, but it's become even more popular now with COVID. It'll integrate with our restaurants, okay? Our restaurants are for our people in the building, but more importantly, they're for the people in the town. We want to bring our people in your town into our buildings and get the whole vibe of Pompton Lakes, which we just think is a fantastic town.
Why don't you talk about the types of units and numbers of units?
Sure.
Got it right
You got it?
There's 212 units. Okay, of those 212 units, 25 of them are COA. Additionally, we're going to be making a cash contribution to COA in addition to the 25. These are mandated by the state and by an agreement that the town has.
15.
I thought 20.
Yeah, 15. I had a lot. 15 in the building, and then the rest outside. Building A, which is the larger building, will have 114 one-bedrooms, 16 two-bedrooms. That's market rate units. 114 one-bedrooms, 16 two-bedrooms. Building B, which is the second building to be built, will have 63 one-bedrooms and 4 two-bedrooms. We find that in this marketplace right now, but predominantly one-bedroom is what we're raising. And that's what the market wants. And it also helps. The average size of the units for a one-bedroom is 650 square feet, for a two-bedroom is 750 square feet. It limits the options for children, but it's great for what our target market is. They love it.
If you don't mind, I want to bring Mike Fabrizio up and speak about. He besides helping us here, he runs the parking authority in Morristown, so he's very familiar with parking. And if you could talk about our plan for parking here and how it's going to work with everything that we're doing.
Well, most of the parking, I think 80%, 90% of it is going to be on site.
that they'll control and operate themselves, maintain themselves. They do need a spillover in order to accommodate, the mayor wanted a high unit count per car unit count. And to accommodate that, we needed to do a little spillover to the pond hole, about 30 spaces. Plenty of room there to accommodate that. They'll pay the borough monthly. What do we say, $100 a month?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
So that's a continual annuity to the borough. We're going to have to create a monitoring system and an enforcement system that's not in place yet, but that's not that big a deal. So the parking should be okay.
And we're also going to use the dentist office as
Right.
So why don't you talk about the dentist office?
So the dentist office will be torn
And
down.
just so everybody understands from the new people, the dentist office is the house to the right of us, right here. Okay?
On Lennox.
On Lennox, right next to our building here.
between here and the gas station.
Right.
Which I believe you closed on.
Oh, yeah, we own.
So they own it, so they're going to tear it down and make it a parking lot, which will accommodate 23 cars, I believe. So between that 23, 30 in the pond hole is 53, and then the remaining at 1.35, we went 1.4.
1.3.
So that would accommodate the full parking.
That's employee parking, correct?
Well, that's resident parking. In terms
No,
of
I mean the.
Oh, the
house
employee,
over there.
right, so shared parking is a widely accepted concept in the parking world. When you have a residential property, the residents are primarily there at night. And so during the day, you have all this vacant parking. That's where the commercial component comes in to use the parking during the day. They leave at 5, 6 o'clock, residents start coming in, and that's shared parking. So the resident, his residents, or his office, his workers, I guess it's the restaurant workers primarily, I mean, they'll be in and out, but they're factored into that 1.4. So that number accommodates the residential and the commercial component for the parking.
There's more than, I forget, what was the number of one-bedrooms? An overwhelming
Right.
majority of the bedroom distribution is one bedroom.
Just for curiosity, is the cost of the parking lot going to be built into the rentals?
Yes, we have agreed, which is now what the PLRA is requiring of redevelopment projects, that every lease come with at least one space. And that if a tenant wants one additional space, they would have to pay additionally for it, but every lease will come with one space.
And
Right,
the reason we're doing that is, we're learning, we're new at this too. And our first project that went in, we did not require that. And there was some confusion with people coming in about getting spots or not getting spots. We want to make sure every resident has at least one spot to park on. And then if they have a second car and they have empty spots, they'll be able to buy them from from the landlord there, or they could buy them from us also.
Well, with a permit system, right now it's illegal to park overnight in the pond hole by ordinance. So that'll have to be amended or changed to allow for overnight parking, and it can be restricted to permit only. So the permits would be Lakeside Commons, that a few people park there, and then this project as well. So that's how you regulate, that's what I meant earlier on, you have to regulate and enforce this.
Michael, so there's 278 spaces if I counted right based on the site plan and everything like
Right,
that.
so
that's
1.35 or
parking
something.
ratio. And you said it's using a shared parking concept, which
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. So are the spaces during the daytime going to be available for visitors of the restaurant?
In the
or
front
fitness
building,
center?
yes, in the A building.
In the A building, so they'll be publicly
Right,
available.
you
Now,
can't-
how is that, is there a time limit? Because I'm assuming that they're also being assigned to the tenant of a particular unit, or is that, those are kind of like,
That's
what are the
your
extra
management, I
ones
guess.
beyond
Yeah.
the 1.0?
There'll be, we're doing it right, we're just opening up in Dover, we're starting to do a shared concept whereby, and we have a consultant who really handles all that, but yes, there'll be it somehow works out, Michael, it works out in Marshtown, great, right?
Yeah, it's a miracle, how it works out.
But you somehow use the spaces from 8 o'clock till 5 or 6 o'clock, the people come in, the spaces are then available, and it kind of all works out.
Right, I mean, I'm
reckon-
just anticipating a dinner-type crowd
Yeah.
coming into Roost.
So one of the things
Yeah.
Greg, I don't think the first building is open to the outside world, is I think what Councilman DeWine's question was.
No, most of the shared parking will be in the pocket.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's where the shared
That's
parking.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's the part I was going to bring up.
In
Okay.
the, in this case with this project, there's a preponderance of one bedrooms,
Right.
which are traditionally only
Yeah, typically it's just one person.
Right, so really, we could have gotten to 1.2 with this per unit.
Okay.
Mayor insisted on higher than that, and we got to as close to 1.4 as we could.
Sure.
The restaurant, typically, and when you have a commercial use like a restaurant, that factors into really the rest of the parking. So people that are going to go to that restaurant typically not going to park in a facility anyway. They're going to park on Wanacue, and we have space at night right now. I mean, Wanacue's fairly empty. So I am really not worried about the parking at all, and I'm actually glad that the mayor pushed us to the higher
You're going to
number.
park on Wanacue, but there's also going to be plenty of customers who actually live here.
Right.
Right.
So one thing I forgot to mention that's very important, that goes to what we're talking about. We did have a parking consultant come in and do a count of when the theater was open on their busiest day, which was Mamma Mia and Christmas night. He did actual counts of the cars, and so we figured out the number we needed for the theater and for us for everyday use was 100 spots. We actually have 130 spots now, and unfortunately, the theater is having some tough times now, and if the theater for some reason doesn't make it through this virus, we're actually going to have an extra 100 spots in the pond hall.
Right, in the math of the parking, we factored in that busy theater night.
Sure.
And even though that's only going to happen a handful of times a year, we did factor it into the formula. So
Okay.
I'm honestly really not that worried about parking.
And remember, a lot of the patrons are going to be from the building itself.
And I think in the dentist buildings where you said you primarily would put the workers of the,
Right.
so they'll be the farthest away.
Right, and so in lot, you
Also
know,
true that with the redevelopment and the rehabilitation of the pond hole parking lot itself, that more spaces will be in the
Correct.
pond hole.
We are-
parking
right.
lot.
yeah, I'm not too worried, I was just worried about
Yeah, where
the
everybody is
access to
going.
control everything
That's
like
going
that.
to be tents only.
And that's the other thing, is that, so now the building's not necessarily open to the general public for parking, it's really gonna be reserved for tenants. And I'm assuming the same thing with Lot C over on the Lennox side. How are you controlling access? Because Lot C in particular looks
We
like
have
a
doors.
grand.
We have doors.
What's that?
We have doors, which is like a garage.
So basically, it's an arm that like pops up
It's
and
an actual
circles
full
up.
door goes up and down and all of them.
But you're not gonna have that at Lot C necessarily.
Lot C will have
Like an arm and everything, so it will be controlled access. Okay.
Now, Lot C, I thought we had talked about during the day, we could use it as a spillover for the borough, till 4 o'clock or something.
I think we're totally open to working that
Right.
out. Okay?
That could be something you could build into the redevelopment.
Right.
You're also looking at this at being 100% leased with the maximum amount of cars. That's how you base the calculations on. That never happens. I don't know what your normal vacancy rate is, 10, 15%?
It's about 3.
Oh, all right. Well, anyway, normally you don't have that. He does better than most other developers. Because Eric, other developers run 10 or 15%.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Even through the COVID right now, we're at 96, 97.
And let me tell you, the biggest problem we had with all the different projects that have come across has been parking. It always comes down to parking. This is the first project that worked with the parking. We were trying to squeeze parking in, and it was going to be very difficult. And I wasn't happy with the idea of squeezing parking in. Here, I think we're going to have enough parking, and the reason being is because they limited the number of units that they had. At one point, we were at, 260, maybe, 250?
Almost 300.
300. To figure 300, trying to get those spots in, that's very difficult to do. So this is why I think the project fits better in Pompton Lakes than any other time, because it's smaller and we can fit everybody in the pond hole. You guys got more, or?
We're open to questions, but that's the gist of the project.
All right, so you know what I'm going to do? We'll take it we'll start at the end with Ms. Kent, and then we'll work our way down, and then we'll just open it up after that. Maria, do you have any concerns, questions?
Well, I'm new, I'm kind of new here, okay, so I apologize for not knowing fully what was going on. But I'm just curious, because the parking's always an issue in town. We have meters right now, and, some of the businesses are always complaining that, people park there, and then they don't have, their customers have to leave because they're under time. So as mayor, maybe it's your question.
Yeah, so I can handle that.
The meter
When we
issue.
redo the pond hole, we're bringing in a metered system. There'll be no more, there'll be some parking meters out front, but it'll all be done like a credit card or that kind of thing per hour.
So,
And that's how your spots will be identified by you put your spot into the machine, like at the shore. Put your spot into the machine, you get 2 hours, and then you're there. After that, you're going to get a ticket. So that's what will happen uptown.
Westfield, Cranford,
Right.
all of them. Yep.
So you can't park overnight, and can't park all day on town. It
You won't be able to
happen.
do that.
You won't be able to do
No,
that.
people probably do.
And the other merchants, are they going to be concerned about the residential parking and?
They can't, so residential, it's going to be permitted parking. So all the spots that we're in control of will not allow residents. The 30 spots that they're going to get, that we're going to sell to them,
Yeah.
that'll be in a certain spot, part of the pond hole. That's where they have to park. They won't be identified per spot, but there'll be 30 spots over there for them. The
Okay.
rest of them are our spots where they cannot park into.
Yeah.
So there won't be any mixing of residential with our spots. If anything, it's the other way around. We'll be mixing with their spots on the off hours. So in other words, the businesses who needs parks, who are open during the day, they'll have exactly what they have now. Nobody will be parking in the street, nobody will be parking by the meters, because they'll have spots within the building to park.
And then we'll have all these people parking in the building, parking in our own spots, that'll be helping all the merchants.
Yeah, the merchants are going to love 200 to 400 more people walking around and patronizing. Yeah.
That's an answer that I would give someone who asked, because I really wasn't sure how that was addressed.
That's worked out for us.
The one thing you didn't mention, just because I want everybody to be fully aware of what we are, please talk about the height and the setbacks and what we talked about on Babcock and those concept ideas.
Well, what do you mean by Babcock? The road, the
Well,
one-way?
we talked about making maybe some outside dining there and,
Craig, you want to?
Well, I'm not as good on the height as I am.
We don't have our architect here, or a planner, but.
I think the outdoor dining, one of the conditions that we all agreed on that we're going to come back with was, how wide the sidewalk on Babcock
Sure.
could be made without going into the right of way, and you were going to come back with some ideas on that. We thought that there may have been like 12 feet there that could be used, and that way we could accommodate dining along the sidewalk on that side of the street.
Ralph Tango, your consulting engineer, thinks we could buy 2 feet on Babcock and still,
Right.
it's 24 feet.
Oh, so extend the...
Yeah, he thinks we can go 22 feet, which would buy 2 more feet of sidewalk for the project to extend. That would give them, I think, 10 feet now? So there should be plenty of room for the restaurant to have tables.
and that's doesn't have to follow requirements
It's not
that we have in the
county.
county.
Right.
So the county can require, this would be our street.
That's why they're specifically talking Babcock.
Right, that's why we're talking about
So
that.
we could probably get 2 extra feet is the best.
I think one of the things that COVID has taught everybody is that outside dining is a real pleasure in New Jersey, and especially this last week. Who knew? Who knew that we were going to have such nice weather and everybody would still want to be outside dining, in the second week of November.
And while we're talking Babcock, the applicant also agreed they're going to fully streetscape it in accordance with the bids, streetscape design plans.
So this building is roughly 6 stories, okay? Unfortunately, I want to be upfront with everybody, unfortunately, the only concern I had, and it can't be worked on, is we can't move the building back on the front because there's a sewer easement that runs between the overpass
Right
there.
here.
And they're up on top of the sewer pass already, so they can't move the building back. So the front of the building will be 6 stories from where you see the sidewalks now. But the left on Babcock will have some extra room. You won't really see the building in the back because the building in the back is sunken into the pond hole a little bit, so it will be below the building. But you will see the front building from Wanacue Avenue.
Front building is only 5 stories.
It's only 5 stories on Wanacue. But part of the solution to that issue is this bridge here that goes over this, and we've reached an agreement with the MUA to have that bridge over the easement, but in doing so, we had to raise the building 3 feet, which was part of the reason that the height increased.
And just go over again why you have that bridge. What is that?
Well, the bridge is going to serve as an access point for people who are entering the garage here from Wanacue, and they're able to continue on to the back building to park wherever their designated spot is. This way that the access is from Wanacue, the entrance.
Right, and there's no exit or anything that encroaches on the municipal lot behind this building. Because of the bridge, we don't have to come out into the municipal lot, interfere with any police things or anything like that. It was a big concern. We worked on that for a long time. We came up with this bridge.
Long time.
Long time.
And one of the
That
things,
bridge was raised to 13 feet, I believe.
Yeah, it was raised.
and one of the things to keep in mind, they do still need to get county approval because Wanacue Avenue is a county road. We have no say on that. They would have to present to the county and ask for what they need to be done there.
Yep.
Okay, anything else, Councilman?
I just have a question on access. as if I were a resident here, because they look pretty nice to actually buy for, people moving up in age. So if you have access, how do you access? It looks like
If
it's
you're
all restaurant.
driving, right here. Show the garage doors.
This garage door right here.
I don't want to.
Oh, way in the end? And then you go into an internal?
Internal, yeah.
There's an external exit too, right?
What's that?
There's like an external doorway straight to the street as well?
Yeah, in this little alley here.
You're talking about for walking or?
Yes.
Oh, for walking, there's the main entrance.
The main
The main
entrance,
entrance
okay.
right here.
I think that's what.
And that
And
would
there's access to stairwells in the back. There's 2 stairwells in both buildings.
And there's a lobby back here right behind our building.
And obviously it's elevated, so there's elevator entrance there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Mike, do you want to point, Mike?
Yeah, sure.
Want to point out the renovation that was made to accommodate people using the gym without having to go outside?
Well, the redevelopment agency identified that there might be some concern for gym membership from the back building to the front. So, Steve, why don't you go over that a little bit if you want?
So, I don't know if you're, we're just going to have direct access from the inside of the building to the fitness center, directly from the lobby, without having to go out.
One of the things I should mention a little more in depth so we understand this, there is what the planning board did yesterday was the sliver of property that is really no use to us in the pond hole. I don't know if you can identify it or not.
It's not shown on here, but it's approximately right here.
Yeah, it's a very small piece. They need to have that work for their project, obviously, because their building is there. So we are going to trade that off to them, and the trade-off for us is they're going to refurbish the whole civic center, inside and out, roof, new bathrooms, new flooring, new lights, new doorways, everything needs to make the building look better. They're not changing the footprint, but we're going to have a brand-new building looking there, which for us is a big deal because that's an old building.
And one other thing I should talk about is safety in the building. All Capitagri buildings, all the radio buildings. Everyone gets a fob. You don't get a key, you get a fob. So obviously you can't take it down to the Home Depot or Lowe's and get it, or to the hardware store. I don't want to get written at it. But you have you have a fob. The building and all public areas in the building and the garage are counted. So you have a smartphone, you get a Meridia app. If it's 1 o'clock in the evening and you're coming into the garage, you can see who's in the garage, you can see who's in the hallway, you can see who's in the elevator. It's complete, the building, we're very security minded throughout all that, both with the fob and with the smartphone.
Good.
I just have one more question on fire, because I know the last time that they built the Federal Hill buildings, one of the things they were worried about was the fire trucks getting in and out. Has that been
Yes,
addressed?
that's been addressed, and, obviously, in the planning board stage, it will go to the fire department, they look at all this, and they will okay it or not okay it. But yes, they've took into consideration the alleyways to fit machines in. They've reached out to the fire department, the ladder truck doesn't go high enough to reach what
They
they
do.
need to do. We do have shared services with other municipalities right around us that have ladder trucks also in case we need to go back there. The nice part about this is if the back building had an issue, we do have the school property and our property where they could work from.
Yeah, where it's higher.
Where it's higher on that
The
side.
buildings include the sprinklers.
Okay. Oh,
The building
Has-
includes the sprinklers.
The engine, the fire engine should be able to get into the parking area.
The what? I'm sorry.
You should
No.
point out
That's not going to happen. That's not what's planned. It's there's going to be standpipes.
Yeah, there are
There are gonna be
standpipes
standpipes.
built into the garage that the fire department accesses. They don't need to bring equipment into
Yeah.
the garage. They'll just hook up to the standpipes. It's running water all the time in any parking garage is by code, and that's how they access water to fight a fire. So they don't need to automatically
Yeah.
get the equipment in to go up high. They could use the standpipes.
all right,
Okay.
thank you.
Councilman Devine, any questions?
Yeah, real quick, so I know you talked about Babcock Place, is there a further step back on Lennox? Are you adding any sidewalk width along Lennox Avenue?
Where
The dentist
parking lot's
building.
gonna be?
Not Lennox, I'm sorry, Wanacue Avenue, rather.
No, that's what I was saying, they can't.
It's the same
Yeah.
setback.
That's
And it's because of the sewer line, they can't push the building back.
Got it, okay, so, and then the fitness center, it's obviously going to be available to the residents. Is it publicly available as well?
We
Or is
said
it
no,
just
we
an
were
amenity?
limited to the,
We're going to remember
limited to the
Just only to the residents, okay.
which is why the entrance is now going to come internal.
And then the last thing I had, because I'm looking at the rendering as you're facing from the pond hole on Babcock, and I know, with the 5 stories, it's the one thing on the floor, with the 5 stories, that's going to be along the street, and then obviously you have the natural change in topography as you go into the pond hole. Was there any consideration given to doing 6 stories on building B, using that natural change in topography and reducing the height of building A, so it wouldn't be so tall as it's facing Montague Avenue?
When the project was first designed, it had 6 stories here, and New Jersey then, because you were allowed to go 2 concrete, 5 wood.
Okay, so it's the
And
construction.
then New Jersey became the only state in the world.
You'd have to go steel construction.
You have to go steel, which would just make. the
Even though
project-
there's plenty of other places going.
You can go 4 over podium now with wood.
You can go 4,
Okay.
you can't go 5.
Okay. All right, well, that answers that.
You used to be able to go 5.
Yeah.
Right, you used to be able to go 5, and the project was originally designed that way.
Okay, thank you.
Council President Bennett.
I think it looks really nice. What kind of time frame are we looking?
Well, supposing that we get through the planning board in January 6th.
Yes, we're shooting for January, yes.
Yeah, we probably have 3 or 4 banks lined up already that would allow us to, and we would probably start as soon as we can get the plans approved and the permits. And then once we get approval, probably 2 years. 2 years.
Exciting.
2 years for the first building, and then we would build the second.
You're going to face it.
Yep.
Anything?
That's all I got. Thank you.
Dave, you have any questions?
No.
No? Bill?
I've been privy for most
You have?
of it. I've been for most of your meetings. I'm pretty well up to date with it.
Jen?
I have 2. So it's,
I know you're only allowed one.
I'm going to make one out of
You
it.
can have 3 then.
It's 5 stories in the front and 6 stories in the back.
Correct.
So when we're looking at it from Wanacue facing, it'll be 5 stories. What is what's the highest building that we have existing on Wanacue Ave now? How many stories is that?
7 is the
Across from the Cardinal?
housing, what's it called?
The Washington building?
Behind the
Iron
Iron Ford.
I'm in court.
What's along Wanacue?
Wanacue, no, this would be the building.
This will be the
This would
12.
definitely be the building, yes.
Okay.
Be 5 stories.
And then I'm having a hard time visualizing this corridor. Can you talk a little bit more about that? So the bridge is 13 feet suspended over, and so you walk through that?
It's a vehicular bridge.
It's only for the cars in the parking deck.
So what is happening in the middle of the 2 buildings? This is you walk through here, this is an open corridor from the street to the back?
No, it's entrance for parking.
That's just, it's a parking entrance.
That's how you get to the lower parking structures.
Oh, so that's where you drive through?
You drive through that.
Between the 2 buildings?
Yes.
Okay.
Just for the lower level.
So how far is the distance between the windows in those buildings?
Oh,
24 feet.
yeah, it's 24 feet.
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking at in the plan
There's a dimension there, it says 24.
for
If you look at this plan here,
these photos of the rooms?
That's what that's,
Is this bedroom, is this facing in, is that what I'm looking at, and that, in between those 2 buildings, the bedrooms are looking into each other?
oh, I guess so, yeah.
Is that what that is?
Any
Are
other
you going to
questions?
add something else to that?
No.
No? Okay, I'm good.
Good? Kevin, you got any questions? Oh, you can give Liz a chance. Liz, you got any questions?
Nothing.
Okay, so what we're here, do I have any, oh, I'm sorry, Terry, do you have any questions?
No, Mike, can you hear me?
Yep, yes.
I just want to thank them all. I think it gives the council a perspective of how long and hard everyone's worked. The council is just seeing not the whole team. I think we, in addition to everyone they see with them tonight, there were planners, engineers, architects, parking consultants, and it was a very involved, intricate, and long planned project, and just want to thank everyone for their thoughtful questions and the presentation. So
Thank you. So the reason we had this meeting is I always said, and I know I sometimes got accused of having these meetings with these gentlemen or with Michael or with Andy, but to get to this phase, you have to have these smaller meetings to where you can get to a point to talk about a project. We're at the point now of talking about a project. So this is now where the council should be educated, should understand what's going on. Eventually, this is going to come to you. The redevelopment agency is going to make a recommendation. Considering, I think they've already, the site plan went through, I don't think there'll be major changes. There might be some stipulations put into the agreement. Then that's going to come to us, and we're going to make a decision on that and vote on the project. Once we vote on the project, that gives them the right to move forward on the project. The redevelopment agency and the planning board do not have control of this. We have control of this. So I just want everybody to understand that. Okay? Remember, the reason we did pilots, and this is not the first pilot, we have numerous pilots, is brings the tax base up quickly in town. We could, with all our projects together, have, with this project included, maybe an extra $500,000 a year for 30 years brought into it. Now, people always say, what about the schools? What about the police? What about the fire? The schools are always made whole no matter what they ask for. So if they need something, we as a town have to give them that. We can't say no. If this project costs something from the schools, we have to pick up the cost. This will give us the opportunity to buy a new fire engine or a new police car with some reserves in our bank that we can go purchase these things. So, there will be costs that we'll have to put out to present this. We're going to redo the pond hole. That's a big deal. The pond hole we're paying for that, by the way. I can't get the developer to pay for that for some reason, but if I could get them to pay for it, I would. Once we redo the pond hole, we will have sheltered units with the pay stations. There'll be an extra, I think it's 32 spots we're adding to the pond hole from what we have now. Be all new paving. The drainage will be fixed. And we're also going to tie in, hopefully, Kevin, if this is right, we're going to try to tie in existing buildings, drainage into the sewer lines that they're putting into the ground now. So part of the problem in the pond hole was all the rain, when it rained like just it was now, all that rain just drains into the hole. And that's why it's called the pond hole, because it fills up with water. We're going to try to drain that into the tubes underground that'll run to the river and get it out. So, this is a big deal for the town. So that's why I want you all to be educated on what's going on.
The other thing I would say is that the schools actually have capacity to bring on students, but I don't see that really big need here.
That hasn't been the issue.
Not with this bedroom distribution.
Craig, why don't you talk about, just real quick, we got about 2 minutes, what towns have you been in and what have you been doing?
Yeah, I was just going to talk about that. We have 4 projects enrolling. We have 5 projects in Bound Brook, and in Bound Brook, New Jersey Transit designated us the redeveloper for the transit plaza down there. So we're going to be doing quite a few units down in Bound Brook. We have 2 projects approved in Lincoln Park that we're going to be starting in the spring. We got to get a Lomar out over there. We have this one here. In Linden, we have 3 projects. In Hackensack, we have 3 projects. In Roselle Park, we have 2 projects. In West New York, we have 1 project. In Little Fairway, we just got a project approved. I'm sure there's others. Oh, see, Tom's River. I don't know if you guys all go down the shore, but Tom's River just designated us and actually gave us a parking lot to build 400 units down in the center of Tom's River. Gloucester City gave us a piece of property on the Delaware River, looking at Philadelphia, where we're going to build 600 units. So we're in quite a few towns, and we invite you, if you want, I can take you to any of these towns, introduce you to the mayors, introduce you to the council people, and they will tell you. I was joking with somebody last night. I said, we built a lot of projects in a lot of towns recently, and a lot of them have asked us to build another one. No one's asked us to take one down. So it's all worked out for the towns. It's been great for the merchants, great for the rateable base of the town, and great just for the people that we bring into your town. Good, solid people into these towns.
I'm sorry. You also have 3 bedrooms?
The 3 bedrooms are mandated by COA. It's not ours. They're mandated by COA.
So they have to put them in for the COA obligation.
We would never build more than a 1 or 2.
They're affordable housing.
So how many are there? 3?
There's only 3, I think.
There's only 3 bedrooms?
There's 2.
Two in building A, yep.
And that's mandated, we can't get around that.
Yeah, that's mandated by the state.
And so, just so you understand with the COA too, what he talked about the numbers, but then we also started a new COA fund that will go to rehabbing homes in Pompton Lakes that fall within the criteria for COA, and that money will be collected from developers that have to put it in. And now we're gonna start having a fund to do that within Pompton Lakes. So we'll start identifying homes in Pompton Lakes through the building department that could fall within that criteria to make their buildings better. When I say buildings, I mean their roofs, their houses, whatever's falling apart on their homes. So, and the reason I asked them to tell what are the buildings, I mean, this is not a developer this is trying or developing out on us. That's, a big concern of all the time. We don't want to be the first guy when they're building it.
Well, I can tell you right now, he got the COVID, but Ben Carson was coming to Ben Carson developed a relationship with the owner of our company, because we probably have more opportunity zones in New Jersey than anyone else. He brought him down to Washington. Thought he was going down there to meet with 30 people. He had a one-on-one meeting with Ben Carson. That happened almost a year ago. Ben will come to one of our buildings on December 3rd, and everybody's invited if they want to meet Ben Carson because of our work in opportunity zones in New Jersey. And I think it's a real testament that they called us and said, hey, you're doing all these opportunity zones in New Jersey. We want to understand how you're doing it.
And the last thing I'll say, he mentioned the owner, which is George Capadaglia. He happens to live in Kinnelon. So he's a local person. It's not like he lives in South Jersey somewhere. Now, he's traveling all over the place all the time. But he knows Pompton Lakes. He's familiar with Pompton Lakes. His wife likes to eat down here sometimes. So, it's someone who knows the community a little bit, at least, that's getting involved. So with that, I'm going to ask okay, good question.
Just real,
Go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I mean, there's a lot of roof space here, right? Are you planning on putting any gardens or any type of things with that?
No,
Nothing like that?
It's not going to work out at this time.
No rooftop bar?
No.
And as far as the sprinklers, you said fully sprinklered or common areas?
No.
Can I open this to the public? No. Okay, any other questions, concerns? Okay, I thank you guys for coming. This was informative. This is what we wanted. And we'll keep moving forward. Thank you for what you're doing. We'll see how it works.
Thank you.
Andy, you have any concerns, questions?
Well, no, I mean, just to reiterate that, I think it's a terrific project. I'm looking forward to the RDA to approve the agreement and move the financial part over to you.
Good. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Clark?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I guess with,
Okay.
I don't know.
Thanks.
We still intending to do a closed session?
No, we don't need something.
Well, they have the courtyard.
Yeah, I'm going to adjourn it. Yeah, motion to approve, okay, no. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Council President Venon? Councilman Begg. All right, thanks, guys. We're going to start our regular meeting in about 5 minutes. Terry, it's down the line.